If cities could speak, New York would tell a story of ambition, competition, and relentless evolution, etched not in words, but in steel, glass, and stone. The architecture of New York isn't just about buildings, it's about identity. From humble colonial homes to some of the tallest skyscrapers on Earth, this city has continuously reinvented itself. It's like watching history unfold in layers, each block, each skyline shift, telling a new chapter. New York's skyline is one of the most recognizable in the world, shaped by centuries of innovation and cultural shifts. The city has over 700,000 buildings, each contributing to a unique architectural mosaic. What makes New York truly fascinating is how different eras coexist side by side: colonial taverns next to glass towers, Victorian brownstones shadowed by billion-dollar skyscrapers. So how did this transformation happen? How did a small Dutch settlement evolve into a vertical city that defines modern architecture? Let's take a journey through time and uncover the story behind one of the greatest architectural evolutions in human history: Dutch influence and early structures. Picture this. Before the towering skyline, New York, then called New Amsterdam, was a rugged settlement of traders and settlers. The architecture was simple, functional, and survival-focused. Dutch settlers built homes using brick, with steep gabled roofs designed to withstand harsh winters. These weren't glamorous structures, they were practical, sturdy, and compact. Buildings were tightly packed along irregular streets, many of which still exist today in Lower Manhattan. The emphasis wasn't on beauty, but durability. Thick walls, small windows, and minimal ornamentation defined this era. One surviving example, structures like early taverns, gives us a glimpse into how people lived centuries ago. What's fascinating is how these early design choices influenced future urban planning. The narrow streets and dense layouts created a foundation that would later force architects to build upward instead of outward, a decision that would shape the city forever. British colonial transformation. When the British took control in 1664, the architectural style began to evolve. Buildings became more symmetrical, reflecting European influences. Materials improved, and structures started to look more refined. The British introduced Georgian architecture: clean lines, balanced proportions, and brick facades. This shift marked the beginning of architecture as an expression of culture, not just survival. It was the first hint that New York would one day become a global design powerhouse. Rise of row houses. As New York's population exploded in the early 19th century, housing needed to adapt. Enter the iconic row house. These narrow, multi-story homes lined the streets, creating a uniform and organized look that still defines neighborhoods like Greenwich Village. The Federal style emphasized simplicity and elegance, while Greek Revival architecture introduced grand columns and temple-like facades. These buildings reflected America's growing identity and its admiration for classical ideals. This era wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about urban efficiency. Row houses maximized space in a rapidly growing city, setting the stage for even denser development in the future. Cast iron architecture in Soho. By the mid-1800s, New York was booming with industry and commerce. Architects began experimenting with new materials, and cast iron became a game changer. In neighborhoods like Soho, entire buildings were constructed using prefabricated iron facades. These structures were not only beautiful, with intricate details and large windows, but also practical. They allowed more light into buildings and were cheaper to produce. Today, Soho has the largest collection of cast iron buildings in the world. Brooklyn brownstones. Meanwhile, Brooklyn developed its own architectural identity with brownstone houses. These elegant homes, made from sandstone, featured stoops, decorative cornices, and spacious interiors. They represented middle-class prosperity and became a symbol of urban living. Even today, brownstones are among the most desirable homes in New York.
Elevator and steel revolution. Here's where things get exciting. The invention of the elevator changed everything. Suddenly, height was no longer a limitation. In 1870, buildings like the Equitable Life Building introduced elevators, making upper floors accessible and desirable. At the same time, steel frame construction replaced traditional brick walls. This innovation allowed buildings to grow taller without becoming structurally unstable. This combination sparked the birth of the skyscraper, a completely new architectural concept. Cities were no longer limited by land, they could grow vertically. They represented middle-class prosperity and became a symbol of urban living. Even today, brownstones are among the most desirable homes in New York.
The race for the tallest building. The early 1900s saw a fierce competition among developers to build the tallest structure in the world. This race for the sky transformed New York into a vertical city almost overnight. Buildings like the Singer Tower and the Woolworth Building pushed the limits of engineering and design. The skyline became a symbol of power and ambition, reflecting America's economic growth. This era wasn't just about height, it was about identity. Each skyscraper was designed to stand out, to make a statement, and New York quickly became the global epicenter of architectural innovation, iconic buildings, and design philosophy. The 1920s and 1930s introduced one of the most visually stunning architectural styles, Art Deco. Characterized by bold geometric patterns, vertical lines, and lavish ornamentation, this style defined New York's skyline. Buildings like the Empire State Building and Chrysler Building became global icons. The Empire State Building, completed in 1931, stood as the tallest building in the world for nearly 40 years at 1,454 feet. Art Deco wasn't just about aesthetics, it reflected the optimism and energy of the era. It was architecture as art, blending engineering with creativity.
Glass and steel. Minimalism.
After World War II, architecture took a sharp turn. Gone were the ornate details of Art Deco. In their place came clean lines, glass facades, and minimalist designs. Modernist buildings emphasized function over decoration. Skyscrapers became sleek and efficient, reflecting a new era of corporate power. This shift changed the city's visual identity, introducing the glass and steel look that dominates many skylines today.
Postmodern architecture. By the 1980s, architects began rebelling against the simplicity of modernism. Postmodern architecture reintroduced color, ornamentation, and historical references. Buildings became more expressive, blending old and new styles. It was like architecture rediscovering its personality.
Super tall skyscrapers. Today, New York continues to push boundaries with super tall skyscrapers. Buildings now exceed 1,000 feet, redefining the skyline once again. The new generation of skyscrapers focuses on luxury, technology, and efficiency, representing the next phase of urban evolution. Sustainable architecture. Modern architecture in New York is also focused on sustainability. Green buildings, energy efficiency, and eco-friendly designs are shaping the future. The city is no longer just building higher, it's building smarter. Cultural impact of NYC architecture. New York's architecture isn't just about buildings, it's about culture. Each structure tells a story of immigration, innovation, and ambition. The skyline has become a global symbol, representing opportunity and resilience. Future of architecture in New York. What's next?
Think smarter cities, AI-driven design, and eco-friendly skyscrapers. The future of New York architecture is as dynamic as its past. New York's architectural journey is a story of constant reinvention. From colonial homes to towering skyscrapers, the city has always pushed boundaries. It's not just a skyline, it's a timeline of human ambition